Hi, good afternoon. I'm Kelly Primus, Deputy Secretary at the Department of Drug and Alcohol Programs. Thank you all for being here today to kick off the upcoming National Problem Gambling Awareness Month in Pennsylvania in March. Today, you will hear from our partners at the Pennsylvania Lottery, the Council on Compulsive Gambling of Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania's Gaming Control Board on the role each agency plays in ensuring access to problem gambling services. In addition, we are joined by a special guest, Brad, here today, who will reinforce the message of hope and the possibility of recovery by sharing the story of his recovery journey. For the month of March, we will all work to bring awareness to problem and compulsive gambling and encourage individuals who are struggling to seek help. That awareness starts with knowing how to recognize the warning signs of problem gambling in your own or your loved one's behavior. Gambling, even though legal, can become a problem when individuals begin to develop strained relationships with loved ones over gambling, borrow money to gamble to experience a high or a feeling, or miss work, school, or other activities and obligations in order to gamble. These behaviors can have serious impact on a person's financial, physical, and mental health. I'd like to highlight just a few of the Department of Drug and Alcohol's accomplishments to illustrate our continued focus on compulsive and problem gambling. DDAP has referred more than 7,000 individuals to gambling use disorder treatment through the 1-800-GAMBLER helpline since 2020. We have increased the reimbursement rate for problem gambling treatment providers to support and expand access to treatment throughout Pennsylvania. And in partnership with the Pennsylvania Lottery, we have reached more than 4 million Pennsylvanians in 2023 on social media with our campaign to raise awareness of the 1-800-GAMBLER helpline. We are here today to let people know that gambling, like alcohol and tobacco, is legal, but sometimes can become a problem. When that happens, know that there is help and you are not alone. Access to gambling is 24/7, in person and online, but so is the 1-800-GAMBLER helpline. It is always available, anytime, day or night, to connect callers to local treatment and service options, and has an online chat and text option as well. If you or someone you know is showing signs of problem gambling, I urge you to take the first step in making the call to seek help. I'd now like to introduce Josh Erkel with the Council of Compulsive Gambling of Pennsylvania to provide additional information on the Pennsylvania Problem Gambling Helpline. Josh?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Deputy Secretary Primus. I appreciate it. Good morning, or good afternoon, everyone. My name is Josh Erkel, and I represent the Council on Compulsive Gambling of Pennsylvania. We are a statewide nonprofit advocacy group, and our main role is basically focusing on helping anybody who's struggling with gambling-related issues across the Commonwealth. And I'm thrilled to be here today to be participating in an event like this where we take part in having conversations about the problems that exist in the Commonwealth, the problems that may develop within some individuals who take their gambling activities to a point where it becomes problematic to them, but also about the help that's available. And I think that's the most important piece. Problem Gambling Awareness Month talks about all of those things. This is a month-long campaign that focuses on raising awareness about the problems that some folks may develop, but it also focuses on talking about what resources exist. And in Pennsylvania, there's no shortage. One of our main areas of focus at the Council is the overseeing of the Pennsylvania Problem Gambling Helpline number, the 1-800-GAMBLER number that Deputy Secretary Primus just talked about. And again, this is available by calling 1-800-GAMBLER. It's also available using a chat or text feature that we have available on our website. which is pacouncil.com. And our helpline specialists are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to assist anyone who's looking for more information or who's struggling with a problem. And we think that it's so valuable and so important to have tools and resources like counseling options, like self-help mutual aid meetings, and wonderful tools and programs that are available all across the state at no cost to individuals who may be looking for more help. As my colleagues will talk about today, this is something that is widely supported, it's widely advertised and promoted, and it can really serve as a very easy way for somebody who's struggling to get more information about the problem that they're exhibiting, but also, again, the help that's available. Over the past few years with the helpline, we've seen a dramatic increase, not only in participation and availability of gambling, but at the helpline center itself, we've also seen a dramatic increase in the number of problems people are calling, reporting about. We've seen a lot of shifts take place over the course of the past few years as well. Not only have we seen higher call volume coming in, calls have nearly tripled in 2023 versus 2019, when we saw a significant increase in the amount of gambling that was available across the Commonwealth. But we're also seeing a shift in who's calling, who's contacting us. We have much more younger calls coming in. We have folks that are talking about things that we never heard of before in the highest amount possible. Sports betting, online gambling, slot machine gambling still continues to be something that we hear a lot about, but it's certainly shifted in the past couple of years as we've had new types of gambling available. So now, more than ever, it is absolutely vital to continue having conversations like this, to share information about the help that's available, to make folks understand that this is something that is as easy as a phone call to find more information out about. Most people who gamble are not going to experience problems. We know this. But some will. And that's the important piece here, is recognizing that by having conversations, by sharing information about resources, we feel that a huge impact in a positive way can be made. I'd like to thank you all for your time today. We invite you to stick around and ask questions afterwards. And if you'd like to learn more about Problem Gambling Awareness Month, you can find information at our website as well as at the National Council on Problem Gambling's website, which is ncpgambling.org. And most importantly, the most important piece of all this is on April 1st, this doesn't end. The problems don't go away. The work continues around the year, and so do the problems, unfortunately. So continue having conversations about what you've learned today, the information that you have. It can, again, make a true impact in somebody's life. So now I have the distinct honor of welcoming our next presenter. I'd like to introduce my friend Brad S. to the podium to share a really important message with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. I appreciate you inviting me here today to briefly tell my story. I'm going to try to condense 10 years into 5 minutes if it's possible here. Hey, everyone. My name is Brad S. I'm a compulsive gambler. Placed my last bet April 8th, 2014, and survived my suicide attempt April 10th, 2014. As a compulsive addicted gambler, I can only speak about my experience, strength, and hope in recovery. When I was in college, I became addicted to gambling during my first time at a casino playing blackjack. Of course, I won a good amount of money, and that is when I got hooked on that game. Like any other addiction, they say it's the high we're always chasing, and for me, that was my high. In 2013, my gambling crossed over that invisible line, we like to call it in the program, when I started borrowing and deceiving my friends and family into giving me money. None of them had any clue about the amount of gambling I was doing. Waking up at 3 a.m., almost 4 nights a week, going to the casino and playing blackjack till 6 a.m., going to work. It was a vicious cycle, and the fact I was able to conceal it from everyone is what us gambling addicts are good at. Unlike drugs or alcohol or many other addictions, there are no visible signs of gambling, so we're able to conceal it from our loved ones. My rock bottom occurred on April 10th, 2014, when I walked up the pedestrian side of the Ben Franklin Bridge. I remember I called my wife, and she asked me what was going on and where is all the money. I told her at that point that it was gone, and at that point, my best friend, whom I took money from, came up the bridge, grabbed the phone, told my wife at the time I had him, and he looked at me, and he said, "I will carry you down this bridge if I have to." From there, I went to a hospital and then a gambling-specific rehab in Louisiana. Coming home to all the destruction and damage I had caused was not easy. However, through hard work, I started to rebuild my foundation brick by brick. I like to tell people it was like I had to learn how to crawl all over again. I couldn't imagine what the young compulsive gambler faces today. How much is at their fingertips to feed into their addiction is mind-blowing and, quite frankly, dangerous. How I gambled may not relate to how another addict chooses to gambling today, but that doesn't matter. We share that we are compulsive gamblers, and recovery is the only way to help keep us away from the bet. Recovery to me is more than abstaining from the bet. It's truly about changing your character defects. Unfortunately, when I see people relapse in the GA rooms, it's sometimes because they choose to just focus on abstaining from the bet and not changing their character defects. I was taught early on in recovery, if you truly want a better way of life, you need to do more than just not bet. You need to work on your character defects. I still have moments of weakness where that compulsive gambling pops into my thoughts, but I use what I learned in the program. I stop, I think about it, I then move a muscle, change a thought. Without utilizing the tools that I've learned from therapy, recovery centers, and Gamblers Anonymous, I wouldn't be where I am today. The stigma attached to gambling being addiction is still out there, and the more awareness we can bring, especially to the young compulsive gambler, the more we will help save the destruction of lives that gambling could cause. I want to thank you all for covering this important issue and spreading the word about problem gambling in our society and the pitfalls and harm it can cause to an addict. With that being said, I want to turn the meeting, gosh, I'm used to my GA room, turn to Claire Yantis, who's the Administrative Director of Pennsylvania Control Board.
Thank you, Brad, so much for sharing your story. It's stories like yours that are really why we're here today, to have the conversations around problem gambling. There's no doubt that access to gambling venues in Pennsylvania has significantly grown in the past several years due to the legalization of sports wagering and online gambling. The board and the Pennsylvania gaming industry continue to ensure appropriate tools are in place to help individuals keep their gambling at safe levels. For example, all Pennsylvania online operators are required to display the PGCB's logo at all times on the screen, and this logo is a link allowing players to click for easy access to the board's responsible gambling website, responsibleplay.pa.gov. This site contains a host of educational materials related to responsible gaming and problem gambling resources. We also require every online operator to display regular and frequent pop-up messaging to alert a player to the amount of time spent during every online gaming session. Finally, the board requires operators to include on their sites easily accessible tools that allow players to limit their online play. These tools include cool-off periods, deposit limits, wagering limits, and even time limits. Unfortunately, these self-limit tools may not be enough, and that is where the board's self-exclusion program is available. The self-exclusion program, which originated in 2006 and was expanded in 2017 in concert with the Expanded Gambling Act, is designed so that individuals voluntarily ban themselves from all forms of gaming regulated by the PGCB. Under all self-exclusion programs, individuals can choose either a 1-year, 5-year, or lifetime ban. To better serve those who may have a gambling problem, last year the PGCB launched a secure, user-friendly web-based system that enables individuals to complete the registration process online 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, from anywhere in the world. To date, the PGCB's program has helped individuals refrain from gambling by processing over 30,000 self-exclusion enrollments. Individuals interested in signing up for the self-exclusion program can access the system from the responsibleplay.pa.gov site. Another way in which the board helps to spur conversations around problem gambling is with our outreach efforts, including speaking to community groups and running educational campaigns. Sadly, one issue that routinely faces the board is patrons leaving minors unattended while they gamble in Pennsylvania casinos. To address this issue, last year we launched our Don't Gamble with Kids campaign that warns of the dangers and illegality of leaving children unattended while gambling in Pennsylvania casinos. The goal of this campaign is not only to protect those children, but also to provide an avenue for those guardians to seek help through our problem gambling resources. Since the launch of the campaign, we have seen a decrease in the number of incidents of unattended children, and the Pennsylvania casino industry continues to make strides in finding these children faster and taking consistent and meaningful action. More information about this campaign can be found at don'tgamblewithkids.org. I want to thank everyone again involved in setting up this important event, and to Brad and others who share their story to provide hope and support to those struggling with gambling disorder. As Josh said, we may declare March as Problem Gambling Awareness Month, but for those who are out there struggling, know that resources are available and tools are available to help you every day, all day. Thank you. It's now my pleasure to introduce Diana Dietz with the Pennsylvania Lottery.
Thank you, Claire. My name is Diana Dietz. I'm the Deputy Communications Director with the Pennsylvania Lottery. I'd like to thank the Department of Drug and Alcohol Programs, the Council on Compulsive Gambling of Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania Gaming Control Board, and everyone who has joined us today as we recognize National Problem Gambling Awareness Month. Pennsylvania Lottery is very fortunate to be able to work with several of the groups represented here today to not only offer lottery products in a socially responsible way, but also to be able to help players or their loved ones who may be suffering from gambling-related harms. The lottery's Please Play Responsibly message is visible in all aspects of its consumer marketing and advertising, also appearing on items such as game tickets, live televised drawings, media materials, social media, and the lottery's website. The 1-800-GAMBLER number helpline is also prominent on these channels, including lottery vending equipment. In addition to the resources mentioned, there are tools available for those who play the Pennsylvania Lottery online. Players have the option to set limits, take cool-off periods, or to self-exclude for 6 months, 1 year, or 5 years. Before allowing and setting up online accounts, the Pennsylvania Lottery performs electronic verification to verify the identity and ages of all players. We also urge parents and guardians to avoid leaving their mobile devices and computers unattended while logged into their online accounts. This will help us prevent children from playing lottery games online. The Pennsylvania Lottery proudly holds multiple accreditations for its responsible gambling work, including from the World Lottery Association and the National Council on Problem Gambling. We're also proud to partner with DDAP on a joint responsible gambling advertising campaign, which focuses on expanding visibility and driving awareness of the 1-800-GAMBLER helpline and resources. The campaign includes online videos, digital billboards, digital ads, and paid social media posts. By combining funds and resources, the result is a more impactful campaign. The campaign results indicate that viewers continue to show a strong awareness of the advertising, including the helpline. So while most adults can play Pennsylvania Lottery games without issue, the lottery understands that gambling can be problematic for some. So that's why we make it our priority when players reach out to immediately connect them with the resources they need. We've made it our mission to help players by offering helpful information on our website and through customer service platforms and other communications channels. So thank you again to all of our partners who have helped make this event possible. Together, we can amplify awareness, break down stigmas, and emphasize that when it comes to problem gambling, it's important to have the conversation. It's now my pleasure to welcome Deputy Secretary Primus back to the podium.
I'd like to thank all of our presenters today, and I would also like to wish Brad continued and long-term recovery as his journey continues. I encourage all Pennsylvania residents to learn about the signs of problem gambling and help spread the message that treatment and resources are available and that recovery is possible. By educating one another of these signs, you may be able to help a loved one or a friend get the help that they need. Again, help is available by calling 1-800-GAMBLER. With that, I will now open it up to any questions you might have.
How many calls did the gambling hotline take last year? Do you guys have a number on that?
Josh, what about you?
So typically we have a fraction of the total calls is actually represented by calls for help. We had just under 3,000 calls, somewhere around 2,700 calls for help, specifically for help from individuals asking for assistance, kind of like the providers and meetings and that type of thing that we talked about. We also had an additional somewhere in the neighborhood of about 500 chat and text requests for help. So somewhere in the 3,200 range is what we saw over the course of the year. I mentioned in my remarks that that's gone up significantly. Just to put it in perspective, we probably had somewhere around 1,100 calls in 2020 and 2019 and the years prior to the expanded gambling becoming available. So things through increased participation and availability, we've really started to see more of an increase in the actual call volume coming in.
Since you're already up there, what are some of the signs and symptoms that people should be looking for to make that call? Okay, I do have a gambling problem. Let me get help.
Yeah, so great question. It kind of depends. If you know somebody's gambling, there could be signs that are related to the gambling. It could be preoccupation. It's all they're talking about. They're choosing to gamble rather than going to other events. They may be, struggling with the ability to set limits for themselves and stick to them. Things are just starting to kind of become a little bit more problematic than they once were. And I think it's important to remember, too, it's not always going to be a situation where, it's the extreme. These things happen over the course of time and they progress. So it could be a situation where somebody may be just doing this more than they should be or are comfortably able to. And if that's not harnessed early on, that's when we could continue to see the problems develop. Now, if you don't know that somebody's gambling, keeping an eye out for things like maybe missing items of value or unexplained missing time, loss of maybe if it's a younger person or somebody who's taking a lot of time off of work or school. Could be any number of different situations, but any type of change in behavior that somebody may have on a day-to-day basis, that's really a good way to indicate that there could be something related to gambling going on.
You mentioned also seeing more younger people calling in, using that hotline. Does the messaging change at all when we're talking about, a younger generation, looking for these resources and is having some issues with gambling?
The messaging stays pretty similar. It's still about preventing problems from starting, and then if there is a problem that's developed, how do you get help for it? I would say maybe where we're looking or where we're advertising and promoting those messages, that might change a little bit. Believe it or not, the highest click volume that we seem to find is through apps like TikTok and other types of social media programs like that, where we have targeted advertisement campaigns and posted posted social media posts that are by far receiving more eyes on the ads and then more clicks to our website as a result. And typically we're seeing like 13 to 17-year-olds is a really, really active age group right now. Obviously, with the helpline, we're not seeing calls come in from that demographic so much, but that 18 to 25 range, that's gone up significantly, and the 25 to 34 range has really, really risen. Years ago, before we saw a lot of the online types of gambling, it was really, really more related to 45 and up. So we've seen some pretty significant shifts there. So the messaging, we're trying to keep it a little bit more meeting people where they're at. We'll put it that way.
One more question. Not sure if this is for you to answer. What would you say to critics who say, we're here talking about the problem, but the state has also, maybe enabled the problem with expanding gambling over the years? Not sure.
I don't know who would be, do you want this? Okay.
Thanks for the question. I would say that gambling, as I had mentioned previously, much like alcohol and tobacco, are all legal and can be used for entertainment. It is, some people have issues, and it goes beyond entertainment, and that is why the state provides funding for providers for gambling use disorder treatment and things like the 1-800-GAMBLER helpline. So, like as with lots of different things, there are opportunities for people to take it beyond the original intent. And when that does happen, we are here, and all of us, to help folks in their recovery.
Yes, this might be more directed for the game board. I know it was mentioned that these resources are available all year long. We just take the month of March to really highlight those resources. Do you find yourself highlighting those resources throughout other parts of the year, for instance, around larger sporting events like the Super Bowl, where we saw an increase of internet sports betting compared to previous years?
So yes, in addition to the campaigns that we launch and the website, we do require that any advertisement that is done for any event or any promotion has the 1-800-GAMBLER number on it and the responsible gaming messaging as well. And that's something that our Office of Compulsive and Problem Gambling works with every operator. So the more that is advertised around those events, the more the message gets out as well. Okay. Thank you.